Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Well, let's move on to other interesting developments this afternoon on The Pulse. The acting Chief Justice, Bafo is the subject of a fresh petition seeking his removal from office after a private citizen accused him of 4 instances of alleged stated misbehavior. Pursuant to Article 1461 of the 1992 Constitution, Justice Bafo, who was also serving in an acting capacity since the removal of the former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu over similar allegations, we know, has been nominated by President John Dramani Mahama for that substantive appointment. However, even before his parliamentary vetting could take place, a new petition filed by a certain Bande Nabin Yusuf from Medina in the Lankwantanat municipality has surfaced, citing fresh grounds for stated misconduct against him. Well, on your screens now are excerpts of that petition. Quite lengthy. We can go through all of it, but we'll do justice to a bit of it. Just let you know where it is from and who it is directed to. From Bande Nabin Yusuf, and he leaves his number there as well as where he's filing the petition from, and that's directed to the President of the Republic at the Jubilee House. And that petition is just citing some of the key concerns that he says are grounds enough for that article to be triggered. And that is on your screens right now. The facts, as he names it. He says on the 24th of September 2025, Israel Tete, Dafia Mepo Roxin Nelson, and a group calling itself the Ghana Law Society filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court seeking constitutional relief against the Ghana Bar Association. On the 25th of September 2025, barely a day later, Ghana Law Society, the third plaintiff in the case, met with Justice Paul Bafo, who had just been nominated 2 days earlier as Chief Justice. If you recall, we brought you that story here live on The Pulse, where we showed you how they met with Paul Bafo. At that meeting, widely covered by the media, he states, and directly linked in news reports to pending litigation, Justice Bafo made comments which touched directly on issues central to the case. And he goes on to quote him, quote, "The bench is particularly interested in ... who ... which ... the Association A or Association B. What the bench is always interested in is whether we have representation for an accused person. So we will normally hear, quote, where is your lawyer? Who is your lawyer? And all that. And so since the case of Tariwaja and the Attorney General, the courts have always insisted that practicing lawyers must be in good standing. And as far as good standing is concerned to us, it means you must have a certificate from the GLC. So in your speech, counsel, you said that you were going to make representation to GLC for recognition and then licensing. Well, this is quite lengthy. And to help you understand the issues better, I should leave it to the man himself, the man who filed this petition, who will join us here live on The Pulse. Bande Yusuf joins us here on The Pulse as we just break down this petition for you. I could have read it to you, really, but I feel he should speak to the issues himself. Mr. Bande, we appreciate your time here on The Pulse.
Mr. Good afternoon to your the Ghanaian people.
Okay.
Good afternoon, often the Ghanaian people and our viewers. I thank you for the opportunity. Petition I submit to the Office of the President for the removal of Chief Justice Paul Bafo on the grounds stated pursuant to Article 146 of the Constitution. And for the sake of your viewers, Article 146 provides that a justice of the Supreme Court or a chairman of the regional tribunal shall not be removed from office except for stated misbehavior and incompetence or on grounds of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity of body or mind. The conduct of Justice Bafuboni constitutes misbehavior because it breaches multiple provisions of the Judicial Code of Conduct of Judges and Magistrates of Ghana and offends internationally recognized principles of judicial behavior, such as the Bangalore Principle of Judicial Conduct 2002.
Let's take it step by step, Bandi.
Yeah. Yes.
What exactly is the conduct of the acting Chief Justice that you feel contradicts this article for which you want him removed? Let's start from there. Let's start from the facts you have as stated in your petition. What are these grounds of stated misbehavior?
For the sake of time, like you read earlier, on the 24th of September 2005, one Israel Tete, Dafia Mekorox in Nelson, and a group that calls itself the Ghana Law Society filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court seeking a constitutional relief against the Ghana Bar Association. And on the 25th of September, barely a day after the Ghana Law, the Chief Justice had been nominated, the Law Society met with the Chief Justice in a conversation that was covered by the media. And in his remarks to the group that met with him, he made certain statements that you read earlier that seems to suggest that he is already siding with one side of the people who went to file the lawsuit. And as Constitution demands, this act, I believe, is against propriety, it's against judicial independence, it's against the integrity of the court, and it seems to be stating that the justice is practicing impartiality, which shouldn't be the case. This, if allowed,
but then, at what point did you establish that he was being partial? Because he welcomed them, they went on an official visit, and he welcomed them. That's the grounds you state for him being partial?
The principles and code of conduct of judicial judges and magistrates in Ghana, a case that is filed in court, the judge who is supposed to compile a bench to sit on the case by his office is not allowed to discuss issues issues relating to the same issue that have been filed in court with any of the parties. But in the case of Justice Boni, he had been seen live on camera having a conversation that seems to preempt that he sides with the decision of the plaintiff, which is the Israel Tete, Dapia Mepo, and the Ghana Law Society. And if this is allowed to pass, will dent the integrity of the party. You know, as stated, they say justice is not supposed to only be seen, it's not only supposed to be seen as being done, but it must also manifest in the actions of the people who interprets the law.
And I'm going through your petition, really. You state different code of conduct, which you say the current acting Chief Justice breached. One key conduct you make mention here is judicial independence. How did he breach this?
So judicial independence, the code states that judges exercise their judicial functions independently and free from extraneous influence. And also with regards to the Bangalore principle, the value one, independence, emphasizes that judicial independence is prerequisite to the rule of law and the fundamental guarantee for fair trial. By entertaining a meeting with the litigant and then endorsing elements of their legal arguments, Justice Bafuboni compromises the very independence that he is sworn to protect. And for which reason I believe the law should take its course, and the institution that is mandated to handle this should do as demanded.
It's clear you're reading out your petition to me. Critics who have seen this petition allege that this is sponsored by the opposition. Is that the case?
Well, so you see, this is not political, as someone might want to read meanings into. I am a citizen of Ghana, and by my right, I'm exercising my right as a citizen of Ghana and helping to protect the Constitution of Ghana and also build on our democracy. It has not got to do with any political party. It has not got to do with the interests of any individual. It is a constitutional right, and I'm exercising it in helping protect our constitution and help build our democracy.
Help build our democracy, you say? So you've submitted this petition to the Jubilee House?
Yes, I did. And you see, in this case, the acting Chief Justice, who was supposed to be the one to determine the prima facie case in this matter, is the person of interest now. And so I suggested to the president that one cannot be a judge in his own matter. And so he should appoint the next in command to take care of this petition and recommend the appropriate.
And who is the next in command?
The next in command should be in the person of one Justice
Gabriel Scott.
Yes, Kwaman. Yes, Kwaman.
Okay. So stay with me. I'll come back to you as we just look at your petition. Thankfully, I have Kwansa Asare, who is a former director of the Ghana School of Law, joining the conversation here on The Pulse. I'm sure you've been going through this petition. What's your initial response to it?
Unmeritorious and without any legal merit. As you rightly explained to your viewers, the group led by Israel Tete and Dafia Mepo, Roxy Nelson, appealed a courtesy call on the acting Chief Justice. And after they were done, the Chief Justice thanked them, for the kind way, they said about me. I don't see how, acting the Chief Justice in its administrative function, can be accused of judicial impropriety. He was not exercising any judicial function. He was not exercising any critical judicial function. He was not sitting as a judge. They did not call on him, in his capacity as a sitting judge. They went to him, say that, we are a group, calling ourselves that come to pay a courtesy call on you and to throw a polite thing that we may require a license for our members to be able, to practice and, have audience before the superior and lower courts of Ghana. That, does not amount to a misconduct, as you say the least. And therefore, the president, must dismiss, the petition outright.
Dismiss the petition, you say. There are already talks that this may spell doom for judicial service, especially with the precedent that this administration set with the removal of the former Chief Justice. What's your thoughts on that?
This instant petition is without any legal merit. It is wholly unmeritorious. It does not measure up to the standard. The petitioner, is seeking to invoke the Ghana Judicial Code of Conduct and the national principles, particularly the Bangalore Principle Value 1. None of them is apposite. And I don't think that we should stretch Article 146 to a point of absurdity. When we do that, it means that all the judges, can now stand and be accused of judicial impropriety, because from time to time, they make extrajudicial pronouncements at services, invitations and other things. The rule of law does not suggest that a judge, is not supposed to, express his views. Here we are dealing with an acting Chief Justice who has been paid a courtesy call by a group of lawyers. And he says that the step you are taking is in the right direction. You will need a license to practice. How does that constitute judicial misconduct? Unless the petitioner does not understand the expression judicial misconduct or judicial impropriety, and the removal process by virtue of Article 146, as Justice Satiban did point out in the the famous everyone, the men in
Okay.
this country, that it is not everything a judge does, that will call for all, that will attract the invocation of Article 146. So now, even if a judge, is about to have his breakfast or his lunch, or dinner, he has to be careful, he does not offend Article 146. That is not what the framers of the Constitution, envisage. And we must be serious as a nation. The people, potential petitioners, should be educated about the nuances of Article 146 and not just wake up any day, and petition the president for the removal of, an acting chief justice or substantive justice. Else, the administrative function of the chief justice will disappear.
Thank you so much, Doc, for your time here on The Pulse. We also spoke earlier to Gbandi. Away from that, let's take you back to our earlier story. We told you that Ghana's military recruitment age is under scrutiny, and we are just working the lines now to speak to Roxanne Nelson Dafiamepo, who raised this, and joining us as well is security analyst Victor Doke, and as well as the ranking member on Parliament's Select Committee on Defence and Interior, Reverend Intim Fojo. We appreciate your time, gentlemen, here on The Pulse. I'll start with Victor Doke. As a security analyst, do you think it's time for us to review the recruitment age for our security services here at Ghana?
Very much for having me. I think when we take a look at the military itself, this institution that has its own standard operation procedures, and if you look at the processes of recruitment, the military does not, go ahead and start advertising for recruitment if it does not, consult the government, because they have to give clearance for that matter before it goes ahead. And when you look at the age that has been pegged, there's a reason for that. You're looking at bringing in young, able, active, men and women who would be very able to go through the rigorous physical exercises for that matter. And there's a specific reason. It cuts across not only in Ghana, but elsewhere on the continent. So it is not just, something you can review, okay, and then it will take effect for that matter. There's a lot of conversation that has to go, into that for it to become, viable. As it is now, the age limit that has been pegged is right for the Army standards. They have a reason so that we have young, able people coming in who would be able to withstand the rigorous trainings and then go through the various rankings. So I think if anyone or institution.
Doc, I seem to have lost connection to you.
If anyone wants to bring in or come up with conversations with regards to, reviewing the age limit, it's a whole holistic national conversation. It's not just a cross-section. And I think they should look at the implications, the negative implications they will have before that conversation should even be brought to the fore.
And we've just been hearing from the likes of Colonel Festus Abuaji speak about the implication to our budget if we start recruiting individuals who are older. Your thoughts on this?
Come again?
We've been speaking to key individuals in the security sector with the likes of Colonel Festus Abuaji. He's of the opinion that when we start recruiting individuals who are older, we then put strain on our health budgets, especially with our security services. What's your thoughts on that?
Very right. So the respected Protector has spoken. Now, he's very correct. You're looking at the age limit from 25 downwards, and then those who are posting 30 plus upwards. Of course, two variations here. Those that fall into the category of the first one, are what very active, and those who fall into the second category are somewhat, considered as what older. So there are implications. What the 25 and under can do, the 35 may not be able to do. So you see, all this is requires the fact that when you go onto the training grounds, not only the aptitude tests or whatever, the training grounds, expose a lot of what ills. Those who are fit and those who are not fit. The older you get, the body is not still the same if we understand these dynamics. So at the end of the day, what the kernel is trying to say is it puts a strain on the health aspect. It means a lot of people will not be able to go through, they'll be having problems, i.e., maybe broken knees and whatever. They're going to remote areas for trainings. The weather conditions may have effects on people. And I personally have had encounters with people who have gone through the training and have opted out. They were even what? Younger. Because of health reasons, they came out. So if you are proposing that people who should be 30 plus or whatever, then it means you should be ready to also cater for their health needs if it arises.
Reverend Intim Fojo, one of the key members of Parliament Select Committee on Defence and Interior. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. You've just been hearing this proposal. From where you sit as the minority, is it even the way to go?
His call misconceived. Any call to want to increase the age limit for recruitment to military in Ghana is misconceived. If you check the basis for these calls from Honorable St. George, from Honorable Dafiameko, one of them insists that these are calls from his constituent. His foot soldiers are demanding that we recruit people above the age of 35.
It's interesting you make mention of that. And for our audience just watching, it's imperative that we quote that portion, because I'll just come into that portion about the background to this and why this is coming up at this point in time. He says in his post, I'm quoting Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo's post, and he says, I have had many calls from our party foot soldiers regarding the army recruitment and maximum age for prospective applicants. They aren't happy. And so it raises a question, really. This is just for the boys, right? Jobs for the boys.
Yeah, so it's very dangerous to go on that premise. The Chief of Defense Staff and the leadership of the Ghana Armed Forces are doing a professional job. They are recruiting according to world best practice. I don't think there should be any political interference at this point in time. Let us leave and allow them to do the work they have commenced so creditably and ensure that deserving persons, fit persons, without consideration to political background or where they come from, are recruited. You don't want an aged military. There's no military in any part of the world who deserves aged military. You would want to desirably keep about 75 to 85% of your battalion, below the age of 30. You want to get the best out of them. You want to set recruitment policy related to age such that by the time you have a soldier who is 30, 35, they would have received minimum 10 years of training, or averagely around 8 to 10 years of training. They must have risen to supervisory, to leadership roles. And as their strengths are going up, the roles that require a lot of strenuous, that put a lot of strain on one's physical fitness is reduced. You check the references that the two, I think, Honorable Dr. Meko raised, right? Australia, Germany, France, and all the examples that he raised.
Yeah.
They recruit as low as 17.5 years. And so a number of them, majority of their population, are very young, between 18 to 24. So when you have a majority of your soldiers within that age bracket, you can have, the luxury of keeping a higher upper limit, where just about 1% or so may be within that remit. But when you even reference, I really don't even understand why these calls are coming. They are not necessary. When you look at the recruitment advertisement by Ghana Armed Forces, you would notice that there are various sections and various trades and various requirements. There's not one age limit for all the categories of recruitment they have advertised. For instance, when you go to section F, you find that the age limit for the categories indicated under category F is 30. It's not 24. You understand? And when you're even doing enlistment, whenever Ghana Armed Forces is doing enlistment, that is for officers. In some specialized courses, some specialized skills like medical doctors and other specialized skills, sometimes they even recruit up to 35. And so these calls are needless. The policy already sets the framework, and Ghana Armed Forces is doing the right thing. I don't see why a section of MPs from within NDC to want to make populist requests to interfere with the quality job that Ghana Armed Forces is doing. Let us take a cue from what happened in Liberia. In Liberia, in history tells us when the leadership at the time made a mistake and tempered with the age policy and even responded to foot soldiers' calls and made recruitment political, ended up bringing in politicians and political foot soldiers who are within 35 and above. What we had was the beginning of instability in Liberia. We don't want to get there. Let us allow the Chief of Defense Staff and his team to do this job with absolute neutrality, professionalism, and within the appropriate age limits that they have set, which in my assessment are fair. They are within best practice worldwide, and no politician should want to attempt to interfere. In any case, Honorable Sam George is a cabinet minister. If he feels strongly that in a country where a median age in Ghana is 21.5, in a country where median age is 21.5, he thinks that the best way to curb unemployment is to target Ghana Armed Forces and to increase age limit to 35 to satisfy party foot soldiers. He can make that proposal to cabinet. And if the cabinet still thinks that that's the direction their government wants to go, they can table that cabinet memo or decision, if it so passes, for consideration of Ghana Armed Forces Council.
But if that comes to Parliament, what will be the position of the minority?
Well, for us in minority, we don't see the need to discuss review of recruitment age, to changing it to any other limit. We think that the current regime is okay because there are even people of 35 years who are eligible to be enlisted into certain categories. So why are they making these populist calls? We have medical doctors, we have some specialists, engineers, architects, and others who sometimes get enlisted into the Ghana Armed Forces between 30 and 35. So why are they making this call? Sometimes they need to consult, they need to read around, they need to be informed. When you are getting calls from your foot soldiers, you need to make further consultations to know that what you are calling for is nothing new. But if you don't make those calls from an informed point of view, you generalize it and you want even non-trained men to be recruited at 35. The kind of training that non-trained men go through, how many 35-year-olds can go through? They can't even survive, and you can't get the best out of them as they progress through. And so let us leave things. If there's any calls that NDC wants to bring into Ghana Armed Forces at this point in time, and what our men and women in uniform need most is support, is retooling, is resourcing. And so that is a priority we should be discussing. The Ghana Armed Forces doesn't need to review in age limits. What they need is resources. They should make releases to them. Goods and services are not being released. They don't have the kind of resources to run the way we want them to run. They are suffering. They need releases. That is the cause that Honorable Sam George and Honorable Dafia Mefo must join for us to advocate for the Ghana Armed Forces. They also need, the kind of equipment that will make them as formidable as we always want them to be.
So they need equipment, you say.
Political interference.
They need equipment, you say. But as a politician, it's imperative I take your view on this. There are already concerns that these are all attempts by politicians to infiltrate key institutions where when they take over power, they then push their members to key state institutions. What's your thoughts on this as a minority?
Well, I have no evidence to the assertion you're making, but they have provided evidence that their constituents who are much older are trying to force their way into Ghana Armed Forces. And I am saying that we have to resist such pressures and allow the Ghana Armed Forces to do their work as professional as they are. We shouldn't put any pressure on them to want to change age limit.
Okay.
They are informed by world best practice, health considerations, fitness considerations, and getting the best out of your personnel. And that is, they're doing a good job. Let's not interfere politically unduly. If there is unemployment situation, which is a major national security crisis, it cannot be. Ghana Armed Forces cannot be the only avenue to curb that. The screaming masses of youth that need jobs. You can't even satisfy 1% of them just by Ghana Armed Forces Avenue. They promise 24-hour economy. They should create more jobs, so that people, youth, 35, 38, 40, any age at all, can have jobs, and then around the clock they will work. So let them look at sustainable job creation, methods and avenues, and stop eyeing Ghana Armed Forces recruitment as an avenue to satisfy foot soldiers. It will be very dangerous for our armed forces. Let's not put undue pressure on our the leadership of Ghana Armed Forces. Let's allow them to do the work they have commenced as creditably as they began, without political interference.
Thank you so much, Reverend Intim Fojo. He's ranking member of the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament. Earlier, I spoke to Victor Doke, who joined the conversation as well, just to get his thoughts on this.